So once I've clicked on it over here and I've opened my create features box or menu here, you can start drawing. And you can see I just drew 4 points, and then if I double click, or I think if I hit enter, nope, just double click, it will draw a new building. Okay, so that seems pretty self-explanatory, but let's say I wanted to have it, so the snapping is already set up. So I guess it just assumes that you probably want to snap, which you do, but you can see what I mean by snapping. When I get close to this edge, you see how it pops up like that? It just shoots to the edge. Now, the reading goes into how to change your snapping options. And if you go to the editor window, or the drop down here, you go to the snapping, you can turn on the snapping toolbar, which is one of the simpler toolbars. And you can see here everything it could snap to is turned on. If it wasn't blue, it would be turned off. And then this just means that if you're near an edge of a thing, it'll snap to that. If you're near the corner of a thing, it'll snap to that. And then I believe edge, vertex. Vertex would just be if you're near one of these corners that's not an endpoint. It'll just shoot over to that. So anyway, the other options that you might think about changing for snapping would be the tolerance, which means I'll show you how it changes. So this changes to 100. So now when I'm pretty far away from it, it'll still snap to it. So that's helpful if you know you always want to snap and you want to go fast, right? So rather than having to get your cursor right next to that point, you can just kind of come within 100 of it. Boom, boom. Just make it. So I'm going to turn that back to 10. That'll probably be a good question, is what is your snapping, or what would change if you changed your snapping tolerance? Good quiz question, teaser. Okay, so I've made a couple of polygons, right? If you click on something that's a line, it will start drawing lines. And if you click on something that's a point, it will start drawing points. As you're editing an ArcMap, you always want to save a lot. So just under editor, there's a save edits option. If you hit stop editing before you hit save, it'll ask you if you want to save. So you can still hit yes or no. But the reason is because ArcMap historically has a tendency to crash. And if you crash in the middle of editing something, you could have just edited a million things, you'll lose it. So you gotta just hit save a lot. Okay, so all the things I just drew are not actually things, so we're just gonna delete them. So if I click on the thing I drew that's not right, and I want to delete it, I can go to this other window, the attributes window. This is the easiest way to do it. And this is another kind of editing thing that we'll go into next, about adding in attributes for these. But within here, you actually can click on it and see the feature you're talking about, but then you can right-click on that and just say delete. And it will go away. So if I highlight all this stuff that I drew, oh, that's a good point too, right? So these, when I highlight the building, you can get rid of that. I get 2. But then I'm trying to highlight these other things and they won't highlight because they're not selectable. So if I go up and make points of interest and roads selectable, then I can grab them and you'll see that now I can talk about that one and that one and that one. And this window, the attributes window, is just a really good way to look through a bunch of selected stuff. So I'm just going to delete it all. Okay. So then the other part about editing is attributes. So when you add something like you saw I did here, I'll outline this little building. And so if I'm in this attributes window, you click on your create features and just go back and forth between attributes and create features. So buildings, I'm actually going to outline this. So basically you just click on all the vertices, and sometimes when there's like a peaked roof, like it's actually just a straight line in reality. It's just that the air photo is kind of warping it because it's taking a picture from an angle. So usually it's just best approximation, and then I'll end it and I'll snap over here. Okay, great. So I have this guy's, I guess, garage. Then I go back to the attributes. See, there's nothing in here. So there's not an apparent place to put the name of this building, but if we wanted to pretend that building T is the building name, we could say test building name. The reason that's helpful is then you could label it by that. You could do a whole bunch of other things by that. So we've edited the building. Obviously not the most exciting thing to do in GIS, but it makes things look real nice when you're done, right? So the next thing I want to show you is how to make a new layer. So often, you want to start, like I mentioned, driveways is another thing we want to outline. And it's not apparent where you would start to make a new, shapefile or GIS layer. So if you go to catalog, it should be up in your one of your windows, which if you don't have it, it's up here. And go to your folder where you had your data. This is pretty not intuitive, so you just right-click anywhere and you hit New. You can also right-click on the folder up here and say New, and then Shapefile. In there you get to pick what you want it to be. So this one, let's do a polygon. Don't worry about multi-points or multi-patches. We're just going to do polygons, points, and lines, polylines. So we'll do a polygon. We'll give it main state plane west, which is in my favorites here. If you can't find that, you just do like main west in the search box there. And projected state plane 1983 feet main west. And then OK. Close. So I forgot to name it. What we'll call it. Okay, driveways. I'll bring that in. So there's nothing in it. And there's only one field, which is just ID. Which for a lot of things like a driveway, you probably don't need anything besides the GIS like outline of the driveway. So we can stick with that. A lot of other times, you'd have like something that you'd want to give an attribute. Like if we were collecting, paved driveways versus dirt driveways, then we might have that be an attribute of like the type of driveway. But in this case, we'll just do the one. So again, when I'm editing, a lot of times I make things like bright colors just so they're easy to see. And then again, we go to the create features, click on, okay, so driveways aren't editable. So that's a good, if you don't see it in this list, it could be you have to stop editing and then right click on driveways, edit features, start editing. Don't worry about this error. And now you got driveways, and now you can Get in there. Very helpful to use the mouse button to pan when you're doing this, because you can pan mid drawing. Maybe not the best color because I couldn't really see where I was supposed to click next there. So this is a good example too. If you get to an area like this and you have your snapping on, you can just go edge, or like corner, 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 corner. But you saw like it kind of overlapped there for a second, so it's a little bit confusing. If you draw your last point and you don't want to drop another point, but it still wants you to, you can just I think just go to the last point. And double click. I guess that's probably the best thing to do. All right, so there's that guy's driveway. But now you can see if we actually make this kind of a driveway-ish color, and then we start to turn that off. You know, the resulting map that we want is one where the air photo is not on, but we can see all the features on the ground, like the driveways and the roads and things like that. The next thing to do after that would be to, you know, collect other stuff on the ground. So we're, for example, the other stuff might be, you know, actual trails that already exist, or like signs that are all over the place, or other points of interest, like potential trailheads that we've gone to look at. Before we get there, we just want to create all this stuff.